When it comes to Kendrick Lamar, and when it comes to Drake, if you are ready to find out what Iceman is actually going to contain based on real inside information, leave a like and let's get straight into it. Because confirmed or not, this album is going to have diss tracks. And the main target is exactly the person everyone already expects it to be.
Before anything else, Drake stacking up ice blocks has somehow managed to breathe life back into his fanbase without releasing a single second of music. So leave a like, subscribe, and help melt these Icemen down, because the stans are hitting new levels of delusion, standing around a frozen cube like it's some kind of cultural landmark, when all Drake actually did was put some ice outside and tuck a hard drive inside it. No music, no preview, just frozen water.
The ice stunt is clearly engineered for Drake's more impressionable fanbase and the streamer crowd chasing content. What I want to do today is something nobody else is doing. Cut through the noise and look at what is actually being reported behind the scenes about this record. Because while the stans are treating a cube like a sacred object, real information about what Iceman is going to be has already surfaced. And when you see what it actually is, given everything that has happened over the last 2 years, it is almost too on the nose to be real.
Whether you find the ice stunt creative or embarrassing, it genuinely does not matter. What matters is what the music sounds like when it finally comes out. Drake's entire operation right now is built around presentation over substance. He is trying to manufacture excitement and momentum before a single bar has been heard by the public. And that strategy tells you everything about how much genuine confidence actually exists within his camp about what the music is going to deliver.
So instead of watching ice melt and waiting for a release date to drip out of a frozen block, let's talk about what this album is actually going to be. Because the information is already out there from a credible industry source. The same person who predicted Baby Keem's album announcement to the exact hour, who knew Don Toliver's drop date ahead of time, and who has been consistently accurate on every major release this entire year. Here is what they have said about Iceman.
Drake is going to be addressing his ops on this album. It is being described internally as the most lyrical project he has ever made. And there is supposedly a release date concealed inside the ice sculpture waiting to be revealed when it melts. Now, the first two claims are the ones actually worth examining, because what we are being told is that Iceman is a diss album at its core, a full revenge project, an entire body of work built around targeting everyone Drake believes has wronged him over the past 2 years.
The claim that this is going to be Drake's most lyrical album ever, we have been here before. During the For All the Dogs rollout, Lil Yachty came out and made that exact same declaration. The whole fanbase got excited, and what we actually received was one of the most bloated and forgettable projects of Drake's recent career. So until actual music is in our ears, that specific talking point deserves nothing but skepticism.
What is genuinely believable here is that Iceman could end up with more diss tracks on it than any single album in hip-hop history. Drake has been sitting on 2 years of unprocessed anger. He has been drafting responses, testing out approaches, and flipping not like us hooks on leaked snippets for months. All of that built-up resentment has to land somewhere. And based on every signal coming out of his camp right now, it is going to land on a very long list of names.
The only Drake material that generated any real conversation recently was the stuff directly tied to the beef. Meanwhile, Doghouse and Which One, the songs that had nothing to do with any of it, landed as 2 of the biggest commercial flops of his recent run. The math has been done. The answer is conflict. And Iceman is being steered in that exact direction because it is the only direction that even keeps the conversation alive for him right now.
At the very top of the target list, unsurprisingly, is Kendrick Lamar. We are now watching Drake attempt a round 2, almost 2 full years after he first started hinting at it. But the question was never just about whether the bars are going to land. The real question is whether anything Drake does in a competitive rap context can even register with any credibility anymore, given everything he has chosen to do outside of music since the beef ended.
Because here is the reality. Drake could write the most technically devastating diss track ever recorded. He could put together a verbal breakdown of Kendrick Lamar that nobody has ever seen before. And it would still be kneecapped from the moment it drops by one unavoidable truth.
This is the person who took a rap battle into a courtroom, tried to roll back 40 years of free speech precedent, and attempted to use defamation law as a weapon against someone for winning a rap beef. You cannot do all of that and then turn around and make rap beef music. The contradiction speaks louder than any bar could.
And the most cutting part of all of this is that Kendrick does not even have to show up. He can stay home. He can take his family back to Disneyland. He has already won this thing. Because the moment Drake releases diss tracks aimed at Kendrick, while the lawsuit over Kendrick's diss track against him is still active, every voice in hip-hop is going to point at that immediately. No framing makes it okay. No rollout strategy papers over it. The contradiction exists, and everyone can see it.
The full list of people Iceman could take aim at is genuinely something to think about. Beyond Kendrick, does Jay-Z get bars for the Super Bowl? Does Pusha T get addressed again? Does the diss list extend to Tyler the Creator, Schoolboy Q, Absol, Pharrell? Will media figures like Joe Budden, Peter Rosenberg, and Ebro get called out directly? And outside of hip-hop entirely, does LeBron James, the person Drake has seemingly felt most personally betrayed by, end up as the second biggest target on this record after Kendrick himself?
Based on every snippet that is leaked from this era, Schoolboy Q getting name-dropped, Not Like Us hooks getting flipped over and over, Drake has clearly been thinking about all of these people for a very long time. But beyond just who gets targeted, the pattern of how Drake goes after people in beef is the real problem. Because his consistent move has always been to attack the women connected to his male rivals, rather than confronting the men he actually has an issue with. And if he repeats that pattern on Iceman, the optics are going to be immediately and severely damaging.
Drake clearly understands that the spectacle is going to need to do a lot of heavy lifting here. The smoke cloud, the Adonis video, the Ice Fortress, the cinematic rollout, all of it signals that he knows the music alone is not going to be enough to shift the cultural narrative. So he is engineering an atmosphere of event and inevitability in hopes that the momentum carries the actual music. It is a somewhat calculated approach. The problem is that it only pays off if the music eventually earns it, and that is the part that nobody inside the camp is talking about with any real confidence.
The deepest problem Drake faces with Iceman has nothing to do with the quality of the production or whether the bars are technically strong. The real problem is that the context surrounding this album makes it nearly impossible for it to land the way it needs to. You cannot position yourself as the competitive voice of rap beef while actively using the legal system to punish someone for engaging in rap beef against you. You cannot play the aggressor and the victim at the same time. And Drake has been attempting both for 2 full years with no resolution in sight.
What this album needed to be, and what it clearly is not going to be, is an honest reckoning with himself. Not Kendrick, not LeBron, not the label. Drake confronting Drake, his decisions, his behavior, his responsibility for how everything unfolded. That is the album that could have actually changed the conversation and started a real comeback. Instead, we are getting a revenge project. And revenge projects made from this specific position of unresolved loss almost never land the way the person making them intends.
And the lawsuit is still running in the background through all of this, still being extended, still signaling to everyone watching that Drake has no intention of letting this go, regardless of what it costs him. Which means there is no clean slate waiting on the other side of Iceman. The legal case is going to keep pulling the focus back into the mud, no matter how theatrical the rollout gets. Every conversation about the album is going to have to navigate around it. There is no version of this release that escapes that weight.
The paradox Drake has built around himself is genuinely unprecedented. He is gearing up to walk back into the arena using the exact same weapon, the diss track, the competitive bar, the rat beef, that he has simultaneously been trying to have legislated out of existence in a New York courtroom. And he seems to genuinely believe that enough ice blocks and smoke clouds can distract people from noticing. They cannot. This culture notices everything, and it is going to be watching Iceman with full awareness of everything that came before it.
The target list on this album might be the longest ever assembled on a single project, but a long list of targets does not make a great album. An album that goes after Kendrick, LeBron, Pusha T, Jay-Z, multiple women, and media personalities is not going to read as a comeback. It is going to read as a documented crash out, a complete inventory of every grievance Drake is incapable of releasing, and the culture is going to receive it exactly that way.
If Drake actually goes after the women connected to his rivals on this record, Rihanna, Serena, Whitney, Virginia, Savannah, the damage is pre-built before he drops a single bar. Every shot at a woman confirms what Kendrick said about him. Every diss gets immediately reflected back against the lawsuit he filed over someone dissing him. There are only two outcomes available here. He ignores the contradictions and the culture destroys him for it, or he tries to address them and exposes himself even further in the attempt. Either way, the only real question is how bad the failure ends up being.
And so, Drake, if you are genuinely thinking this through and not just reacting to another academic's phone call, you need to seriously sit with what this album is going to mean for your legacy 10 years from now. Not first-week streaming numbers, not viral moments, your actual legacy. Because the album that permanently cements you as the biggest loser in the history of this genre is not going to be the one you intended to make, but it might be the exact one you are building right now.
What makes an album last in this culture is not shock value or gotcha moments. It is whether the music says something honest and real about the person who created it. An album constructed entirely around unprocessed resentment and petty score settling does not become a classic. It becomes a time capsule of a moment everyone was already trying to move past. And that is what Iceman is shaping up to be. Not the project that rescues Drake, but the one that documents for the record exactly why he needed rescuing.
And honestly, that is the only genuinely interesting thing left about this album at this point. Not the music itself, not the disses, not whatever date is supposedly melting out of that ice cube. The real spectacle is watching someone who has made every conceivable wrong decision over 2 consecutive years step back into the arena to make one more. When it drops, and it will, just remember you had a front row seat to the whole thing. Let me know your thoughts below, and check out the suggested video to see exactly how stuck in ice Drake's situation really is right now.